The words hit me like a physical blow across my chest. "Everyone, I have an announcement!" My sister Camille stood up at our family's Thanksgiving table, wine glass raised, that familiar smirk playing at her lips. "Our dear Natasha here just inherited $11.4 million from Great Aunt Vivian's estate." The silence that followed felt suffocating. 23 pairs of eyes turned toward me, and I could actually feel my heart hammering against my ribs. My mouth went completely dry. The turkey I'd been chewing suddenly felt like sawdust, and I had to force myself to swallow. How did she even know? I'd only gotten the lawyer's call 3 days ago, and I hadn't told a soul. The paperwork was still sitting in my car's glove compartment because I couldn't quite believe it myself. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. 11 million? Her voice cracked on the words. "Natasha, is this true?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. The dining room felt like it was spinning slightly, all those faces staring at me with expressions I'd never seen before. Hunger. That's what it was. Raw, undisguised hunger. My cousin Derek actually licked his lips. My brother-in-law Marcus was already pulling out his phone, probably calculating something. Even my sweet nephew Tyler, barely 16, was looking at me like I'd suddenly transformed into someone completely different. I managed to croak out, my voice barely above a whisper. "How did you—" "The important thing," Camille interrupted, sitting back down with theatrical grace, "is that our family finally has a chance for some real changes, some new beginnings." She reached across the table and grabbed my wrist, her nails digging in just slightly. "Isn't that right, sis? You went through my mail." The realization hit me like ice water. My voice came out flat, emotionless, but inside I was screaming. "You came to my house yesterday to check on me, and you went through my mail." Camille's smile never wavered. "I was worried about you living alone in that little apartment. When I saw the envelope from Whitmore and Associates, I thought it might be something important." She squeezed my wrist tighter. "Good thing I did, right? We're family. We should share these kinds of blessings." "Natasha, honey," my mother's voice had taken on that syrupy tone she used when she wanted something. "You know how hard things have been for all of us. Derek's been out of work for 8 months, and Camille's divorce left her with nothing. This could be a chance to really help everyone get back on their feet." My stomach churned. I yanked my hand away from Camille's grip, leaving red marks where her nails had been. Around the table, I watched my family transform before my eyes. These people who'd barely called me in 2 years, who'd forgotten my birthday, who'd made jokes about my boring job and tiny apartment, were suddenly looking at me like I was their salvation. "The thing is," Derek chimed in, leaning forward eagerly, "I've got this business opportunity. Food truck venture. I just need about $50,000 to get started and I need a house," Camille interrupted. "A fresh start somewhere new. Maybe $200,000 for a down payment?" She tilted her head like she was asking for spare change. My chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing all the air out of my lungs. The voices around the table started blending together into a desperate chorus of needs and wants and demands. College tuition, debt consolidation, vacation funds, medical bills. Everyone had their hand out, and they were all looking at me like I owed them something. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the hardwood floor, the sound cutting through their chatter like a knife. My hands were actually shaking. "I need some air." "Natasha, wait!" my mother called after me, but I was already pushing through the kitchen toward the back door. The November cold hit my face like a slap, and I gulped it in, trying to stop the panic that was clawing up my throat. My phone buzzed. A text from Camille. "Don't be dramatic. We're family. This is what families do." Another text, this one from Derek. "Just think about the food truck thing, okay? I'll pay you back with interest." Then Marcus. "Tyler's college fund could really use help. You know how expensive tuition is these days. My phone kept buzzing. Text after text. Everyone had my number now, apparently. Everyone had an opinion about what I should do with money I hadn't even received yet. Money I'd never asked for, from a great aunt I'd met exactly 3 times in my life. The back door opened behind me. I turned, expecting to see my mother or Camille, ready to launch into another guilt trip. Instead, it was my cousin Jenna. She was the only one who hadn't said a word at the table, hadn't made any demands. She handed me her jacket without speaking. "You okay?" she asked quietly, lighting a cigarette with hands that weren't entirely steady either. "No." The word came out as a whisper. "Jenna, they went through my mail. They're acting like I owe them something, like this money belongs to all of us somehow." I could feel tears starting to build behind my eyes. I worked double shifts for 3 years to save up for my nursing degree. I never asked them for anything. And now they think you're their personal ATM. Jenna took a long drag. "I've been watching this family for 34 years, Natasha. They only show up when they need something." "Remember when you graduated nursing school?" Jenna asked, flicking ash into the wind. "You invited everyone to the ceremony. Your own mother didn't show up because she had a hair appointment. Camille was too busy with her divorce drama. But now that you have money," she shook her head, "it's disgusting." My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mother. "Sweetheart, don't let pride get in the way of helping family. Your father's medical bills from last year are still haunting us." "They're never going to stop," I whispered, staring at the screen. "Are they?" "Not unless you make them stop." Jenna dropped her cigarette and crushed it under her heel. "You know what's funny? I work at the bank downtown. You know how many people suddenly get family emergencies when they come into money? It's like vultures circling roadkill." The back door opened again, and this time it was Camille. Her smile looked strained now, almost manic. "There you are! Everyone's wondering where you went. We're talking about setting up a family meeting next week to discuss how we can all benefit from this blessing." The word blessing made my skin crawl. "Benefit? We? Well, yes." Camille's voice took on that patronizing tone she'd used since we were kids. "You can't possibly need all that money by yourself. What would you even do with it? You live in that tiny apartment. You drive that old Honda. You don't exactly have expensive taste." She laughed, but there was something sharp underneath it. "This is a chance for all of us to improve our lives." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not panic this time. Something else. Something that felt almost like clarity. "You're right," I said quietly. "I don't need all that money." Camille's face lit up. "See? I knew you'd—" "Which is why I'm going to make sure it goes to people who actually deserve it." I pulled my car keys from my pocket. "Jenna, do you need a ride home?" "Natasha, wait!" Camille's voice was getting higher now, more desperate. "You can't just leave. We haven't finished talking about this." "Actually, we have." I turned to face her fully. "Thanks for hosting dinner, Camille. It was very enlightening." The drive home with Jenna was mostly quiet, but it was the good kind of quiet. The kind where you don't need to fill every second with words because someone actually understands what you're going through. My phone kept lighting up on the dashboard, call after call that I let go to voicemail. "You can stay at my place tonight if you want," Jenna offered as I pulled into her driveway. "I have a feeling they're not done with you yet." She was right. By the time I got back to my apartment an hour later, there were 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. But there was also something else. Camille's car parked outside my building. I found her sitting on my doorstep, and for the first time in years, she looked small, vulnerable. The mask had slipped. "We need to talk," she said, standing up slowly. "Please, Natasha, let me explain." Against my better judgment, I unlocked my door and let her in. She sat on my secondhand couch, the same couch she'd made snide comments about for years, and started crying. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind. "I'm drowning," she whispered. "The divorce settlement was nothing. Brad took everything. I'm living in a studio apartment above a laundromat, and I haven't told anyone because I'm so ashamed. I haven't worked in 15 years. I don't know how to do anything." She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "I know I handled today wrong. I know I shouldn't have gone through your mail or announced it like that. But when I saw that number, I thought maybe, finally, something good could happen for us." I sat across from her, studying her face. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to fall back into our old pattern where I fixed everyone else's problems. But then I remembered her words from earlier. You don't exactly have expensive taste. The casual cruelty of it. The assumption that I didn't deserve nice things. "Where were you when I was working 16-hour shifts to pay for nursing school?" I asked quietly. "Where were you when I had pneumonia last winter and spent 3 days alone in the hospital? Where were you for any of it, Camille?" Her tears stopped. Just like that. "That's different. You're strong. You've always been strong. You don't need people the way I do." And there it was. The truth finally out in the open. I stood up slowly, feeling something shift inside me like a lock finally clicking into place. "You're right, Camille. I am strong. Strong enough to see exactly what this family really is." Her face went pale. "What do you mean?" "I mean I've spent 32 years being the family's emotional punching bag. The one who's supposed to be grateful for scraps of attention. The one who doesn't need anything because I'm self-sufficient." I walked to my kitchen window, looking out at the parking lot where I'd struggled to afford rent for the past 5 years. You know what's funny? Not one of you asked me how I felt about inheriting this money. Not one of you wondered if I might be overwhelmed or scared or excited. You just saw dollar signs. "That's not fair," Camille protested, but her voice was getting shrill again. "We're family. We're supposed to help each other." "Help each other?" I laughed, and it sounded strange even to me. "When have any of you ever helped me? When I was 25 and couldn't afford groceries because I was paying for textbooks. When I got passed over for that promotion and cried for 3 days. When I had to put Dad's hospital bills on my credit card because none of you had good credit." My voice was getting stronger with each word. Where was this family helps family mentality then? Camille's mouth opened and closed like a fish. But this is different. This is real money. Life-changing money. You're absolutely right. It is life-changing money. I turned back to face her. And I've decided exactly whose lives it's going to change. The next morning, I called Jenna. I need the name of a good financial advisor, someone who specializes in charitable giving. "Oh, this is going to be good," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "What did you have in mind?" "I'm thinking the Children's Hospital where I volunteer. They've been trying to fund a new pediatric wing for 3 years. And there's this scholarship program for single mothers going back to school. They helped my neighbor Monica get her nursing degree." I was pacing now, energy crackling through me. "And you know what else? I'm going to pay off every outstanding lunch debt at the elementary school in our old neighborhood." 3 weeks later, the first news article came out. Local nurse donates millions to Children's Hospital. It was a small piece in the community section, but it mentioned the full amount of my donation, $2.7 million for the new pediatric wing. My phone started ringing before I even finished reading it. "Natasha, what the hell is this?" Derek's voice was shaking with rage. "You gave almost $3 million to strangers when I asked for 50,000? 50,000! That's pocket change compared to what you threw away." I hung up on him. Then I blocked his number. The calls kept coming. My mother, crying about Dad's medical bills. Marcus, screaming about Tyler's college fund. Even relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly remembered my phone number. But the one that surprised me was my Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister. "I just wanted you to know," she said quietly, "that I think what you're doing is beautiful. Your mother called me, expecting me to talk sense into you. But honestly, Natasha, I've watched this family take advantage of your kindness for decades. I'm proud of you." The second article came out a week later. Anonymous donor pays off all outstanding lunch debts at 5 local elementary schools. This one mentioned it was part of a larger charitable initiative by someone who wanted to ensure no child goes hungry at school due to financial hardship. The amount wasn't disclosed, but Jenna later told me it was trending on social media with the hashtag #LunchHero. That's when Camille showed up at the hospital where I work. I was coming off a 12-hour shift, exhausted and ready to go home, when I saw her sitting in the lobby. She looked terrible, thinner than before, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the same clothes she'd had on 3 weeks ago. "Please," she said, standing up when she saw me. "Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking for." Several of my coworkers were watching now. I could see them whispering, probably recognizing her from family photos I'd shown over the years. "Fine. 5 minutes." We sat in the cafeteria, and she pulled out her phone, showing me screenshot after screenshot of news articles about my donations. $4.8 million, Natasha. You've given away almost half of it already." Her voice was hollow. "Do you have any idea what you've done to us?" "To you?" I stared at her. "I haven't done anything to you. I've done something for me." "You want to know what you've done to us?" Camille's voice was getting louder, and I could see other people in the cafeteria starting to stare. "Derek had to move back in with our parents. Marcus is talking about pulling Tyler out of private school. Mom's been crying for 2 weeks straight because she thought this was finally going to solve everything." Solve everything? I felt something hot and sharp rise in my chest. "You mean solve everything for you? What about the 200 kids who won't go hungry at lunch anymore? What about the families who'll get help from the scholarship fund? What about the sick children who'll have a better hospital experience because of that new wing? Those aren't our responsibility." Camille slammed her hand on the table, and half the cafeteria turned to look. "Family comes first, Natasha. Blood comes first." "You're right," I said, standing up. "Blood does come first, and my blood, sweat, and tears built the life I have now. None of you contributed a single drop." That's when she lost it completely. "You selfish, ungrateful bitch," she screamed, loud enough that security started walking over. "After everything we've done for you, after all the holidays we included you in, all the times we—" "Included me?" I laughed, and it felt like releasing a pressure valve. "You mean all the times you needed a free babysitter? All the times you needed someone to pick up the bill at dinner? All the times you needed emotional labor, and I was the only one desperate enough for family connection to provide it for free?" Dr. Martinez, the head of pediatrics, appeared at my elbow. "Natasha? Is everything all right here?" I looked at Camille, red-faced and shaking with rage, then at Dr. Martinez, who'd become like a mentor to me over the past 3 years. "Everything's fine, Dr. Martinez. My sister was just leaving." "Actually," Dr. Martinez said, smiling warmly, "I wanted to thank you again for your incredible donation. The board meeting this morning was extraordinary. We're going to name the new wing after you, the Natasha Chen Pediatric Wing. It's the largest single donation in our hospital's history." Camille's face went white. "The wing is being named after you." "I didn't know about that part," I said honestly, feeling a flush of pride I'd never experienced before. "The ceremony is next month," Dr. Martinez continued. "We're expecting the mayor, several council members, and local news coverage. You've truly changed countless lives, Natasha." After security escorted Camille out, Dr. Martinez walked me to my car. "I hope your family situation resolves itself," he said gently. but I want you to know that what you've done has touched so many lives. The first family just moved into the new wing yesterday. A little girl with leukemia. Her parents were crying with gratitude. That night, I came home to find my mother sitting in her car outside my apartment building. This was becoming a pattern, and I was getting tired of it. But when she rolled down her window, I could see she'd been crying for hours. "Your father's in the hospital again," she said without preamble. "His heart condition is worse. The doctors say he needs surgery, but our insurance won't cover all of it. $68,000, Natasha. That's what we need." For a moment, I felt the old familiar tug. The programmed response to fix, to help, to sacrifice myself for their emergencies. But then I remembered Camille's words. "You're strong. You don't need people the way I do." "Mom," I said quietly, "when I was 26 and had that car accident, I needed $7,000 for medical bills. Do you remember what you told me?" Her face crumpled. "That's different. You told me that adults handle their own problems. You told me that I shouldn't have been driving in the rain if I couldn't afford the consequences." I felt strangely calm. "Dad has insurance. He has Social Security. He has 2 other children who could help. Figure it out." "But you have millions," she wailed. "Millions that you're giving to strangers." "I'm giving it to people who need it and deserve it. People who never demanded it from me. People who never made me feel guilty for existing." I started walking toward my building. "Good night, Mom." The ceremony was beautiful. The hospital was packed with families whose children had been treated in the new wing, scholarship recipients, teachers from the schools where I'd paid off lunch debts. Jenna sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Even some of my co-workers' families came to support me. I spotted my family in the back. They'd come, probably hoping for one last chance to corner me. But they looked small and out of place among all these people celebrating something positive. When I gave my speech, I talked about community, about how real family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up for you without expecting anything in return, about how kindness should flow toward those who need it most, not those who demand it loudest. After the ceremony, as people were mingling and taking photos with the new wing's nameplate, I saw my family making their way toward me. But before they could reach me, I was surrounded by people whose lives had actually been touched by my choices. Monica, the single mother whose nursing degree I'd helped fund, introduced me to her 2 kids. "Miss Natasha helped Mommy become a nurse so we could have a better life," she told them. Mrs. Patterson, a teacher from Roosevelt Elementary, hugged me with tears in her eyes. "You have no idea how many children you've fed, how many families you've saved from embarrassment." A little girl named Amy, whose leukemia treatment had been made possible by the new wing, handed me a drawing she'd made. It was a stick figure nurse with "Thank you for my new room" written in crayon. I had to excuse myself to the bathroom to cry. When I came back out, my family was gone. All except Jenna, who was waiting by the entrance with a knowing smile. "They left about 10 minutes ago," she said. "Camille was crying. Your mother looked like she'd been slapped. Derek was just angry." "Good," I said, and meant it. 6 months later, I got a call from Aunt Patricia. "I thought you should know," she said gently, "that your mother and Camille have been telling everyone in town that you abandoned the family, that you chose strangers over blood." "And what does everyone say back?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Well," Patricia chuckled, "most people have seen the news coverage. They know about the scholarship fund, the hospital wing, the lunch programs. They know you're the one who paid for the new playground equipment at the park. So when your mother starts her story, people just change the subject." The truth was, I'd never been happier. I'd used the inheritance to create a foundation that would keep giving long after the money was gone. I'd bought myself a small house, nothing extravagant, just a place that was truly mine. And I'd learned something invaluable, the difference between being needed and being valued. Last week, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Tyler, my nephew, was getting married. At the bottom, in his handwriting, was a note. I know the family situation is complicated, but I hope you'll come. You're the only one who ever believed in me. I'm going to the wedding. Not because Tyler is family by blood, but because he's family by choice. Because he remembered kindness when others only remembered demands. As for the rest of them, they made their choice that Thanksgiving night when they decided I owed them my future, and I made mine when I realized I didn't.